This is Scorpio Books, and I am your host, Amber Cheyenne. This is my brother and our guest for the day, Jonah.
Nice to meet you.
Today we're going to go over a couple different things. Most of it will pertain to religion and mythology with a tad bit of history, and then he is going to give a joke, which is probably going to leave a giant debate on this channel.
Comment below if you want any more jokes or if you don't.
And
I want to see what people say.
The next time he's on, he will actually he'll give another joke, if so, because he'll be on maybe every other week, maybe every 4 weeks, just depends.
Busy man.
Alright.
Very busy man.
What is your favorite part about history? Well, your favorite part of history, and why is it your favorite part?
The medieval ages, due to the lore, legend, and myths behind them.
Alright. What is your favorite mythical creature?
Werewolf.
Why is that?
Primal behavior.
Alright. Along with which, if you can say the prehistoric beast were alive today, what would you actually have as a pet?
Smilodon fatalis, saber-toothed tiger. Great predator. Great predator.
Okay. Now, the last few videos have been about the series The Guardians of Maple Hollow, which will be released next year around Halloween, and the Seed of Freedom, which will also be released next year. What is your favorite character and why from the Guardians of Maple Hollow?
Nightshade.
Nightshade is the Seed of Freedom, Jonah.
Oh, yeah. Guardians of Maple Hollow. Witcher Wolf.
So Tala.
Yes. Due to her abilities and her backstory. Very neat backstory.
Little messed up.
Yeah.
We're not going to say too much, otherwise it will spoil the book.
You gotta read it. You just gotta read it.
You gotta wait for it to come out, and then you have to read it.
Yeah. You gotta wait like everybody else. I'm sorry.
Your favorite character from the Seed of Freedom, like you just said, was Nightshade.
Yes.
Now, why is the paranoid, crazy teenager your favorite character?
Well, I mean, instead of it being the scruffy comic relief, it's the shady comic relief. His paranoia is funny.
And the sad part is, his dad's actually a cop.
Yeah.
And he is beyond paranoid. Like, his two most common questions is, are you sure this is a good idea? That is one of them. The other one is, was that their fault for World War III?
Yeah.
Should we be worried? Like, in the book, he legitimately, in the chapter 2, so it's not much of a spoiler, asked the president, how can you tell us not to worry when you have no clue what is going on?
And that's why I like this character, because there is intelligence in every question that's stated.
Despite all of the paranoia.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's intelligent people that are paranoid all the time.
He'd be like the person you expect to see in Doomsday that's huddled up in the cabin.
Yeah.
Hiding away from everybody.
Or
in the bunker.
in a cave. Something like that, hiding.
Basically. Alright, now what is your favorite trope you can find in any book or movie, and then what is your favorite movie?
Book, definitely going to have to go with, Jesus, what was that book? Wait Till Helen Comes.
Oh.
That was
Wasn't that by Mary Darling?
Yes, I'm fairly certain, yes.
Correct us if we're wrong, but
yes,
pretty sure
Mary Downing Hall. My favorite part about the book is all the suspense that it gave, and then at the end you realize that the whole first part of the book you were completely wrong.
Yeah. On to your favorite movie. I know what it is because I've listened to you twice throw a fit about it for weeks on end.
Bridge to Terabithia. The only movie that has ever made me cry. Ever. I didn't even cry during Titanic. But 5-year-old me sits down and watches Bridge to Terabithia. This is going to be a happy movie. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. It was the saddest movie I've ever watched as a little kid.
And then a couple years later, I think it was middle school?
Yeah.
He watches it again. Forgets he watched this movie before because he forgot the name of the movie.
Yep.
Turns it on. Watches it all the way through.
And then bitch about it again.
And then threw a fit about it for a week.
Yeah.
Because one of the main characters that he fell in love with actually died. Personally, my favorite is some of Stephen King's movies.
Stephen King is great.
Rose Red. Rose Red was a fantastic movie and a good book.
Right beside it. Right beside it with me.
Don't get me started on that movie.
The old school one was okay.
What I'm saying is it's good. But I actually went to the drive-in with my cousin when the newer one came out. And they were doing the let's dress up like clowns. And where we come from, they actually had a case with, what was it, the killer clowns or crazy clowns that were going around.
Yeah, they were carrying weapons and stuff around Missouri and doing a bunch of dumb stuff. Around
the time the remake of It came out. Well, in this movie, they actually were sitting there at the drive-in with my cousin. Him and his girlfriend go inside and leave me in the truck by myself. Sitting there watching it. Figured, okay, I love this movie. No big deal. The people that worked at the drive-in were actually dressed up like clowns. Their goal was to scare the ever-living shit out of people.
Yeah, my dad got out of the car and almost killed a clown. It didn't end well.
I picked up the nearest weapon and swung.
Yeah, and I can verify that, yeah, that'd be very possible.
But my cousin never took me to drive-in after that. Because I actually swung at one of the workers.
I mean, stupid is as stupid does.
Wouldn't it be instinctive for anyone, if you have a bunch of killer clowns running around the town, trying to beat the shit out of anybody, and you just see a clown approaching the truck where you're sitting to watch it, and you watch him approaching with a bat, wouldn't your first instinct to be is swing?
Yeah.
This is where the
get yeeted. And then you skirt out there.
The shoot first, ask question never. Granted, you should never actually shoot somebody.
Yeah, never shoot people. Ever.
I will point out, felony. Violence is not always the best answer. But sometimes instincts actually take over.
Pretty much. And I'm sorry, I know there's such thing as a phobia towards clowns. I don't have it, but I know plenty of people that have it, and it doesn't end well.
I know people that have a phobia of clowns that are liable to swing and beat the shit out of the clown, and I know people that are liable to run and scream.
Yeah.
But no. Don't get me started on that movie because of that incident with the drive-in. My cousins never took me back.
Yeah, that was an interesting night indeed.
I don't think has actually been back very many times after that.
I've been to the drive-in, yeah. I'm worried about people that wear clown masks. That's a definite. If you're walking in public wearing a clown mask and a clown suit with a weapon of any kind in your hand, you're immediately gonna have an issue right off the bat with anybody around you. I don't care who you are. It could be Gandhi, and Gandhi's gonna look at you and say, "We're gonna fight, bro." And for the people that don't know who Gandhi is, he was a very peaceful guy. Just throwing it out there.
Okay, now we're going to go with some of the mythology and religions that are actually circulated around the supernatural beings of the Guardians of Maple Hollow.
Yes.
As you can tell when the cover gets released, there is actually a lot of Wiccan and Native American lore in them, along with the Nordic and a couple others from around the world, including voodoo.
Yes, voodoo of the world. The one religion that everybody is so scared of.
They all believe it's taboo. And if they don't believe it's taboo, they only want interest in it because they believe
it's evil.
They believe it can actually provide something that they want.
Yes. And voodoo is based around the practice of bettering yourself. Mind you,
on the good end of it. Which is what most people fail to see.
People that want to research this, I don't know anything particularly about voodoo besides it exists, and I don't mess with it. Never have. I've studied a little bit of it, not enough to say anything past it's meant to protect and help yourself. Nobody else, just you. However, I know voodoo practitioners usually help people when they ask. Usually they'll ask for a payment in return. It could be food, it could be anything. But most voodoo practitioners are out to better themselves. And that's where the ideology of it being evil comes in.
Yeah. The reason why voodoo is brought in because I actually have a few of the African folklores that and mythical creatures that I have brought in. The Tokolosh and the were-hyena being two of them.
The second one's the way more frightening one. Just throwing it out there.
I don't know. I think tiny little creatures that can torment you in your sleep is pretty terrifying.
Yeah, a tiny little doll that's going to torment you in your dreams, or a giant hyena that's going to actually eat you.
You cannot jump to being going to eat people. Okay. Leave your statement below on that. Just leave the comment on what one you think is more terrifying. The were-hyena, whose false skin is actually the human skin.
Yes.
They are human by day, hyena by night.
Yes.
The human form is the false skin. Do you think that is more scary? Or do you think the Tokolosh, which has literally been shown throughout mythology behind the black magic and corrupted voodoo, they torment you in your sleep.
Yeah.
They have actually killed people.
If you die in your dream, you die in real life.
People literally raised their bed up off the ground so I didn't mess with them. What one would be more terrifying? The Tokolosh or the were-hyena?
Leave your comments below. Let us know if you know any more lore about these creatures too. It would be very, very useful for the series.
Yes, it would be. Because with the series, I want to make sure I get as many details as I possibly can correct.
Yes, definitely correct. Because mythology is very, very tricky.
I do not want to intentionally mess up any mythical creature or mythology behind anything.
Yes.
especially in this book series, which is supposed to highlight the better and the worse halves of each religion that it circulates around.
Next mythology, what would you like to go over?
How about we go over the Chuka? I think that's pronounced correctly. The little demon that hangs out in your kitchen.
Little Puka.
One of my personal favorites.
Pukas.
They actually hang out in the kitchen and they love to cook.
However, they're very mischievous little creatures.
Yes, you mess with their kitchen, you cook food without their permission, even if it's in your own house.
It's insulting.
They won't seek revenge because you insulted them.
You're gonna get clapped in your own kitchen by a skillet by a creature that's like this tall. Yeah.
And then there is the Bunyip from Australia. This creature, it was believed to be taboo if you killed it. If you killed it, you were going to die a horrible death. LeBron
James could not jump high enough to catch this thing dunking over his head. This thing can clear 6 cars in one jump.
In some myths.
Yes.
It was most commonly found in like swamps and murky waters. There was actually one legend, I don't remember the entire thing. A little boy had actually got drawn into the water. An old man had rescued him by waiting till the Bunyip had fallen asleep and then going to play, and then played him a lullaby and rescued the little boy.
And the thing is the Bunyip would deliberately take things to make trades. Like, most Bunyips would eat straggling meat, rotted meat, anything it can find. However, it would take your kids and be like, hey, your kid will live if you stay, kind of deal.
Unless you were able to outsmart it.
Yes. A Bunyip usually is known for not breaking a deal. Ever.
They were not able to talk them.
Yeah.
But it's depicted in multiple different
beliefs as
in multiple different ways it looks.
Yes.
Some it looks like a platypus without the beak.
Some it looks like a turtle.
Some it looks like a very mutated plant.
Yeah, that one bothers me.
And then you have some of the Native American folklores that are going to be brought in, like the Thunderbird,
the
Wendigo,
Skinwalkers.
Exactly. Those are 3 of the big ones that would be brought in. Minus my personal favorites are like the wolves mentioned in Native American folklore.
Yeah, that's a very gray area.
But in this case, the wolves that are actually brought in, one is Tala, who is the Witcher Wolf. His favorite character. Her grandmother actually tells you the story of the Cherokee Legend between the 2 wolves.
The story of the 2 wolves. Which one do you prefer to feed?
One is filled with peace, love,
tranquility, and light.
The other is fed by ego, anger,
rage.
And rage. That's simplifying it.
Yeah.
The wolf that wins is the wolf you feed.
Exactly. Which one do you want to be stronger than the other?
Exactly. But in that series, it features a whole lot of different religions. My personal favorite character out of that, and I created and didn't think he was going to play as big as a role as he is going to play throughout the series, is Chaos. A 1,000-year-old ball python familiar.
With a Napoleonic complex.
I would not call it that.
Okay, he has a raging ego. There you go.
He does not. He only gets offended when people call him a snake.
Yeah, he is a serpent.
He is a familiar.
Yes.
That has had to put up with humanity's ignorance and arrogance for over 1,000 years. So it can be understood.
He's done dealing with dumb.
Like, he is legitimately called because he is the Guardian's familiar. The moment they were picked, because they stumble upon ruins, not going to say any farther than that, he became their familiar.
And he was not too happy about it.
Well, he was already the familiar to her aunt.
Yeah.
Because when the original Guardians died off, he was placed in the care of white witches to be passed down until the new Guardians had been chosen.
He probably didn't think it would have took that long, but it did.
It really did. But he wound up getting stuck with 3 teenage kids.
As a cranky old man.
And is in charge of making sure they know how to use their powers. And keep in mind, he has no clue how to teach these kids this. 2 of them are only half human. One is half spider sage, which is the demon wolf, who is Kai. The other is Tala, who is half blood witch. She is the Witcher wolf. And then you have the black sheep of the group and his own family, Nestor. He is full-blooded human. He is the shadow wolf.
Yes.
Now, Chaos takes offense to being called a snake, especially from these 3. He expects them to call him a familiar. He calls him a fool anytime they refer to him as a snake.
And for anybody that doesn't know what a familiar is a creature that attaches themselves to a witch of natural born gifts.
Exactly.
Your familiar picks you. You don't pick your familiar.
No.
It just comes up to
you.
In the belief of Wicca.
Exactly. Now, before anybody asks, no, not all familiars are cats.
No.
That's insulting.
Yes.
I am a Wiccan and I don't have any cats. I have dogs. I have reptiles.
We have slithery slithers and doggos.
Not all familiars are cats.
Some can be birds, some can be wild animals, some can be reptiles, amphibians, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
The animal merges with you. Simple as that.
And then, in the book, there is also most of the book is featured around Native American, Wiccan, and Nordic.
Skull. He
can actually tell you about some of the Nordic creatures that you might find later on in the series.
Which one would you prefer to go over first?
Pick it.
How's about Fenrir?
Sure.
Okay. Norse mythology explains Fenrir was a child of Loki. Loki being the god of mischievous. And he's not exactly evil, but he causes chaos for the benefit of Asgard. And Valhalla and Odin, even though Odin doesn't really like what he does half the time. Fenrir is the off branch and the most destructive off branch of Loki. He was born from nature to protect and defend. However, when he was born, Odin was told by an ancestor, a member of the Hall of Valhalla, that he was going to devour Odin and raise to destroy Asgard.
Now, hold up. There is a huge controversy because everybody knows that Fenrir was chained up.
Yes.
There is actually a debate whether them chaining him up and imprisoning him like that actually sealed the fate of Odin.
They believe it did, but
had they not, would he have still done that?
That's the thing. that part of that fate resides within Fenrir himself. As the entity, he could devour Asgard and everything in creation, or he could defend it from everything that's trying to destroy it. When they chained him, Odin fell to a slumber. He does every Yule season. During this time, as he slumbered, Thor decides, okay, I don't think it's a good idea to leave Fenrir in these chains. Well, he broke these chains in some forms of the religion. He did, some believe he didn't.
It all depends on...
It depends on which faith you practice. Basically, the story goes, if you believe that Thor broke them, Fenrir left Asgard, came to Midgard, and lives to protect nature itself. However, in the coming Ragnarok, he will return to Asgard, break down the walls, and devour Uthin. Uthin will be destroyed, and the serpent will devour its tail, and creation will become a giant circle of existence and unveil the truth of life. And in that time, anybody that enters Valhalla will see the tree of life and be exposed to everything in creation. And that's their version of heaven.
Now, you are actually working on a book as well.
Yes.
You want to give a little info for that?
I was going to start writing a book about mythical creatures and everything that resides within everybody's version of heaven, earth, and hell, and everything in between. The reason why I'm doing this is to better understand others and for others to understand me. Due to the fact I personally practice spiritualism. Spiritualism doesn't base around any particular religion. It just bases around good, evil, and your duty to do one or the other. Some people prefer black spiritualism and the ability to gain power and strength through dark and light, which power consumes and corrupts in my eyes. Some people believe power is the ultimate form of enlightenment, and if you believe that, be my guest. As long as you're not harming anybody, I don't care. And that's a big part of spiritualism, is you aim to strive to do better for the people around you and yourself. And that's about it there.
Alright. There is one thing I have a problem with that shows up throughout multiple different histories. That is an eye for an eye. The problem with this is everyone ends up blind.
Yes.
Revenge does not solve anything.
Vengeance...
It just leads to more vengeance.
Vengeance is a fire. Fire consumes. And when...
The more it is fed,
the bigger it gets. The bigger it gets, the more it consumes. It's a vicious circle. In order to break that circle, you have to... People say forgive and forget. You can never forget.
You can never forget, but you can always forgive. Because if you keep feeding the fire, it's never going to end, and an eye for an eye will not stop. Everyone ends up blind.
Yes.
If you forgive, but don't forget, you learn. If you do not learn from history, it is doomed to repeat itself, which is mentioned in every book series I have been working on. It is phrased differently in each one, but it still proves the same point.
Yes.
If you do not learn from history, you are doomed to repeat it. If you do not stop a war, if everyone keeps going with all these wars, it doesn't stop. It keeps going.
And it's going to get worse.
It will get worse as time goes on, and the planet will eventually become nothing but a wasteland.
or the planet will create something to kill us.
Exactly.
Because everybody believes, okay, you touch a tree. It's not alive because it can't talk.
But
that's not true. A tree bleeds.
A tree, A, it grows. B, it's actually living. It breathes.
It drinks water.
It drinks water.
It feeds on soil.
Just because it doesn't talk like we do doesn't mean it's not alive. An animal, for example, does not talk, but is it still alive?
Yes. It walks. It communicates with other animals the same way it sounds. The thing is, people need to understand that everything around us, may it be inanimate objects, like the screen that you're looking at right now, it's producing energy. Energy is the source of life. Energy cannot be destroyed or created. It can only be transferred.
Exactly.
Albert Einstein said that. The thing is, I believe when I die, my energy will be transferred to the ground. My energy will become grass or a tree, move from the tree into the air and then into somebody else's lungs, or move to the tree and something eats a part of the tree. My energy is